This podcast is a casual conversation about mental health. All topics discussed are based on our own personal opinions and should not be interpreted as professional advice. If you need assistance with your mental health, please contact a healthcare provider. I'm overstimulated, expect the long-awaited abolition of my brain.
But if mentally we synchronize, despite what we despise, there's a chance that maybe I won't go insane. Hi friends!
Hello!
Welcome to Mental Sync. We did not decide.
I wanted to see how long I could keep that hello going because I'm stalling.
Because we did not decide.
We have not decided on what we're going to talk about today on the podcast.
So, in true John and Emily fashion, we are going to flip a coin.
We are literally, I have a coin. We're going to flip
John
it.
has coin.
We haven't decided. We don't know what we're going to... And that's not to say... Now, I know some of you are thinking like, wow, they're so passionate about both of these topics that they want to talk about that they just can't make up their mind. No, we just haven't talked about it. Both of these ideas are in theory. So we're like, that'd be good. That'd be good.
Here's what happened for season 2. We said we're going to be so organized. We're going to have production meetings before every episode.
Every time.
We're going to just do it the right way.
Constant.
And
always.
Absolutely
time.
None of that has happened. In every single episode we've done.
Yep.
It has been totally just, let's see how it goes.
Yeah. We really fooled ourselves. We're like, yeah, we're gonna come at this and be so prepared. And as you can see, we are doing an episode at night, which is not something we've normally done. And the reason for that is we're a little behind of where we wanted to be. But it's
fine. It's just because I'm getting married next week and I don't know how to function right now. So
yeah, guys, listen, Emily's getting married next week, okay? Mm-hmm. So, and by the way, a queen is never late. Everyone else is simply early. So
exactly.
I need to fix this window here because I need to be looking at you and not myself. No, you.
Oh.
You. Why is it? It's not letting me look at you. Now I'm looking at you. Okay.
Oh, cool. Nice.
Cool.
So, what's going to be heads then? So, okay, so our two options for this episode, we're going to be like toxic relationships.
Uh-huh.
Or insecurities.
Let us know in the comments which one you would have wanted us to do. It's too late to vote at this point. Whichever one we do this time, we're just going to do the other one next time, though. So, the stakes aren't crazy.
Surprise!
But, all right.
What do we want to be heads and which one's tails?
Heads is going to be toxicity and toxic relationships.
Okay.
And then tails is going to be insecurities.
Sounds like a plan.
All right. Can I get a podcast-friendly drum roll? Insecurities.
Woo!
We're going to talk about insecurities.
Even though I would have said that about the other one.
Wow.
You know what they say to do if you can't decide is you flip a coin, because usually in midair.
And then you're going to know in midair.
You know. And you know what I realized I wanted to talk about today is it was midair.
What?
The other one.
Well, I kind of wanted to talk about insecurities, so I guess we actually did have a disagreement.
We're good. So
I also agree
I'm happy with both topics, but just know, everybody, for the next episode, I'm gonna rash on myself. It's just I've been a toxic person, so I've wanted to talk about how I've grown as not being a toxic person.
Hell yeah, that's going to be amazing to get into.
Yes.
Next time
on Mental Sync, you'll have to wait.
But this time we're going to talk about insecurities, and I agreed with Emily that if we did insecurities, I was going to put on my insecurity glasses. Whoa.
Wow.
I know what you're thinking. Are those glasses that you have to wear but you don't wear because you're insecure about them? No, in fact, practically the opposite. They are glasses that I only wear for style. But this is something I actually want to talk about today because, they're blue light glasses. They were blue light glasses, and I have a pair just like these that are blue light glasses that I use when looking at screens. These, though, I have taken the lenses out entirely. If you aren't watching the video, I just poked my fingers through the lenses, but
I think you should have gone the other way and like poked your eye. That would have been funnier.
You're right. Anything for the bit. But I had such an interesting realization with these glasses specifically, where I still had the lenses in, and I like wearing them when I'm looking at a screen because it's, you know, good for my eyes. And then I was like, oh, I'll wear them on the podcast, and I think they look good too. That's another reason I like to wear them. But then I realized when I put them on and then looked into the camera, you could see the reflection of everything, and it just looked really bad. And then I was like, oh, maybe it was not the vibe. And maybe I was like, I'll pop out the lenses. And then I started getting really in my head about like, well, but then I look like I'm trying. Then I look like I'm wearing these, not because I have to or because it's good for me, but simply for the aesthetic.
But who cares?
And that's like, who cares? But like, even beyond that, even beyond who cares, it's not even, I don't even know, I don't have the wording for this, but it really hit me like this weekend when I was thinking about that I should just try to look a certain way, and that's okay. And it really, that's where I got the idea for the insecurities episode. And I texted Emily in a cold sweat going, insecurities, what are you talking about? And Emily was in the middle of like 16 other projects and was like, okay, I really have to go though.
Yeah,
I was like, the
insecurities,
right. I'm so nervous about everything. We got to talk about it. And she's like, okay. But I find it so interesting that, I don't know, I feel like where a lot of insecurities, what it comes down to is being perceived in a different way than you might want to be perceived, right? And it's so interesting how much of that goes into like not wanting to show effort as a defense mechanism. Because if you don't appear like you're showing effort, no one's going to judge the things you do. If you look like you don't care, then you are completely in control of whatever anyone might judge you for. And I just think that's very interesting. I mean, like, bad, sad, let's not do that because we're all better and more beautiful than that. But it's something I've never really put into words.
Well, you know what's interesting is I feel like over the past couple of years, I've really tried to like really focus on not being insecure, because I feel like I've spent a lot of my life being like, oh my God, what is this person going to think of me? Or how is this person going to judge me? When it's like, who cares? And now I'm at a place where I'm like walking into like 7-Eleven at 3:00 in the morning in like my pajama shorts with like my Nike slides, my hair's in a messy bun, and I look like I just got mauled by a bear. And I'm just like, they know me as that. If I walked in looking any other way, they'd be like, who is this lady?
Who is
like, we've never seen her before. But the reason I say that is because I feel like if in high school, every day I tried, every single day. I woke up in the morning, I put on makeup, I did my hair, and I was like really insecure about like not looking like, I mean, it's a whole nother thing to be a woman and being insecure just in the environment we live in today. But definitely in high school, I struggled with relaxing that a little bit. Like if I had to wear my hair up for any reason, I was like, oh my God, I look horrendous today. You know, like I was just like not about it. And then I don't know, I went to college and the same thing happened. I was like, I have to try every day. I like dressed nice every day. I did my hair, I did my makeup. And now here I am living my best life. I don't wear makeup hardly ever. Like I put mascara on, but that's about it, because if I have blonde eyelashes, I look like a zombie, you know. But that I have to say, I don't do that for anybody else but me. Like I like the way that I look when I put mascara on. I don't know. I don't know.
And like, I think you look beautiful.
Thank you. I think you look beautiful.
Thank you.
Oh my God, we're just beautiful. Anyway.
Anywho.
But like even now too, like I I do my hair sometimes. I did my hair today, but only because I had to do my hair because I had to look professional for like a work meeting. Otherwise, it would have been the curly mess that you typically see it as. So, I don't know. It's something that I feel like I've tried to adjust. And I don't even mean just insecurities about like looks. Like I have like insecurities about like career fulfillment, like what I'm doing in life and things like that. And I'm still trying to be like, who cares? Like who cares? If I want to do it, I should be able to do it. And I've also learned a big lesson about that, like owning my own business, because part of me for a while was like, oh, I don't want to like promote my business on like social media. I don't want it to like seem like I'm trying too hard or whatever. But then I'm sitting there also thinking like, Kim Kardashian doesn't give a shit whether or not she's posting her business on social media. Like that's how she got her, like, what? Like, why should I care?
That's the whole Kardashian thing.
So I got to a point where I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to like hold this in. I'm going to show what I'm doing. I'm proud of myself. Who knows? And by doing that, the amount of people who reached out to me were like, oh, that's really cool. Will you like tell me more about that? Like in a genuine way, was like almost like surprising. I was like, wow, I should be doing this. Like I should just like post about it and care about it. So I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of different ways that I've kind of faced insecurities, like not only look wise, but also like with what I'm doing in my life. Like there's this like preconceived idea that like we all have to be successful and like be working hard 100% of the time, and we have to look great 100% of the time. And I'm over here like, man, that's a lot. Like I'm already dealing with a lot.
I mean, you've got look great, feel great, and doing great. I can do 2 of those things at like 50% capacity, and that's right. I cannot do all 3 of those things at 100%. That is not going to work for me.
Yeah, no, it's such an interesting. It's an anxiety. Like it's an anxiety that I definitely have a interesting relationship with.
Yeah, I mean, speaking to career anxieties and just career insecurities. Well, listen, as someone in the arts, as someone working in like trying to write and create things, it is so hard to walk that line of not caring what anyone thinks and also making things that are specifically the worth is based on what other people think. And I think the greatest, or like my greatest fear, and I think a lot of artists' greatest fears in terms of insecurities is like not seeming self-aware. Mm-hmm. Just the idea that you are not aware of how you are coming across is like, oh, it's I don't know. There's something
cringy.
About that is super cringy. Yeah. There's something that, then directly reflects your work, because art, like real art, good art is, emotionally based, and it comes from you. And if what you are giving seems like not even disingenuous, but just not centered. I don't have the wording. I don't know. If it seems like you're not aware of what you're putting out, you're going to be criticized and not taken seriously, and that is death in our field. I feel
like there's also that like another parallel to that would just be like, well, I guess it's technically the opposite. Like when people seem like they're like too proud of themselves, or like like that's something. But I have to say, I think I might have recommended this book on the podcast before. I know I've recommended it to you. It's Russ wrote it, and I love Russ. Like I just love him.
Yes.
But anyway, he wrote this book.
I don't know if it was on the podcast, but we have
talked about it. I've recommended it to so many people because he talks about like what he's done in his life to be successful within himself. Like, not to be successful to society standards or to what anybody else thinks, but like how he's like how he's been successful for his own mental health, for his own success, and by his own standards. So one of the things that he says that really resonates with me is, well, the whole first chapter of the book is he's like, well, be cocky. Be so cocky that, like, you come off as an asshole, because when you believe in yourself to that extent, you're going to accomplish those things that you believe in, which I truly agree with as well.
Yeah.
Which is why I've also changed my attitude with the way that I actually, like, present some of the things that I do, because before I'd be like, look, I kind of tried this, and I'd be like, now I'm like, look what I did. Like, I made this. I'm fucking proud of it. Like, here it is. And, but the thing that really sticks with me about his book is there's, a point in it where he says, like, when you are so overly, like, confident, right? Like when you're being cocky, or when you're just, like, he says, like, how people think of him as an asshole, right? Because he's coming off of this person who's like, oh no, I'm really fucking proud of this, and it's better than everyone else's. But what he's trying to say by doing that is, like, I don't give a shit about what you said. If I believe that this is the best work that I've put out, if I'm putting out what I'm proud of by my standards, then it's a success for me. And he talks about a lot of this in terms of, like, his, like, music career, because he's, like, not signed by a label because he wants control over all of his things, and, like, he's put in a lot of hard work to, like, you know, get there, and he's been successful. And one of the things he always says, like, is just that at the end of the day, success is measured by what you make of it. So, like, if you're insecure about your successes or what you're doing, then you're never going to see it as a success. Or if you're always comparing yourself to these other standards that other people are constantly putting out there, you're never going to see it as a success. So he takes it in terms of music for him. He's like, did I put out a song that I like, and the way that I wanted to? Yeah, that's my success. And so I think the way I relate that back to, like, insecurities is just that, especially, like, career-wise, or just, like, if you're afraid to, like, go for something, and, like, because it seems like some type of a way to you, who cares, right? Like, who cares? If it makes you happy and it's fulfilling to you, that's your success, right? Like, if you don't care that you look some type of way because you have to go to the grocery store and just get something, and you come home after looking like you got mauled by a bear like I did, that's your success. Like, it can be translated into such, like, into smaller little things. But I don't know, I love that book. And he reads it if you want to listen.
What's that book called?
Get Out, it's all in your head. Get out of your own way, or something like that. Get out of your own way. It's all in your head. I think that's what it is. Okay. Yeah, because it's just about how we place, like, because of our own insecurities and, like, these standards that other people put on everybody, it's basically just about how to be successful for yourself, because that's all that matters. At the end of the day, it's you. It's just you and yourself. Like, yeah, you have people who love and support you, but at the end of the day, if you don't support yourself, where are you going? Nowhere. Like, I don't know. I just, like, really resonate with that, because I am very insecure about some of the things I do, and I'm trying to get rid of that, because who cares? Like, that's all I can keep saying, because, again, if you care and it matters to you and you did it the way that you wanted to, who cares? Like,
who cares?
Who cares?
I've been
that should be the name of this episode.
Yeah, who cares? Who gives a shit?
Yeah, it's perfect.
No, I really feel that. I have been recently really trying to rev myself up for fall, because I want to take my fashion a little bit more seriously. Like, not like, when I say that, I don't mean like, oh, I'm gonna be dressing in all the latest bleh. No.
But then again, who cares if that is how you wanted it?
You're right. Yeah, no, who cares if that is but what I more so mean is, like, when it's cold out, I will wear a sweatshirt every single day.
Me too.
Every single day. And you know, there's a part of that is that I like to be comfy cozy. I must be comfy cozy at all times, and I'll never change that about myself. And I think that's a positive. However, there's another part of it that definitely comes from body insecurities and just not wanting, actually partially body insecurities, but also fashion insecurities of, like, I know it looks perfectly fine when I put on a sweatshirt and jeans. No one's going to be like, oh, that doesn't match. That doesn't make sense. That doesn't
Right.
look good. And I don't know. I have recently, like this summer, I've just been looking at, especially just living in New York City, like looking at all these things people are wearing, just like, I want to try stuff. I want to just like explore my own fashion sense and like see what I enjoy wearing, not just, something that I enjoy wearing that makes me feel like I'm showing myself off.
Right.
Not just something I'm wearing because people won't notice me or people won't look at me or I will keep my head below the radar.
You're doing it for you.
I'm doing it for me. I want to, I want to try to really feel good about the way I'm wearing myself, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I think, there are so many other ways that insecurities just affect, oh my God, everything that we do or say. When I was in college and I had started drinking, and I found that I was so anxious. Drinking helped me relax a little bit, but I was so insecure about about not being in control and not being able to control my image in the way that people were perceiving me. I could not get drunk. And I wasn't a small guy. Like I had a little more weight on me back then, and I could, I'm not kidding. Like I remember several weekends I would make myself a rum and coke with Captain Morgan, or like a rum and root beer or rum and ginger ale, something like that. Always Captain Morgan though. That was my drink. And I would pour roughly like five to six shots of alcohol into a mixed drink, and I would have like three. I'd have like three mixed drinks and would have cumulatively about 15 shots, and I wouldn't be drunk. Like I'd be, like my hand is getting numb. Like I'd be like, oh, I'm starting to like really relax and stuff. And I would definitely, not that I wouldn't get drunk at all. Like I'd be slurring my words a little bit, but if I needed to sober up, I could always do it. And I would always like walk home by myself. I'd be fine. I'd always be like, oh, I'm a little more dizzy, but I never felt like drunk, which is, in retrospect, completely fine. I don't even really like drinking that much now, but I just had such a hard time letting go that's what it took to get me to that point of like, hey, I'm feeling it. And that should not be how much it took for me to feel alcohol.
Right.
And I just think it's so interesting that, getting to the mind over body power, that like when your brain is like, no, I'm not going to be drunk. There's a limit to that, but there's a long way that your brain can be like, nah, no, I'm just not going to feel the physical effects of the chemicals in my body right now.
Right. Yeah.
Just not going to do it.
It's, yeah. I feel like we could talk about insecurities and different types of insecurities in like a bajillion different episodes, because there's so many things that like we find ourselves being insecure about like on a daily basis. And I definitely, it's almost kind of sad that like we feel, and I personally believe it's all because of social media and just like these standards that like are put, like these beauty standards and all this stuff. But like even career wise, like I was kind of getting at earlier, am I good enough to do this? That like imposter syndrome, right? Like you're somewhere, you've been like, you got to where you are, who knows how, like who cares how, but you got there, and then you're like doing whatever you're supposed to be doing, and then you're sitting there and you're like, I shouldn't be doing this. Well, why not? Well, why not? Like someone thought you could do it, someone thought you were capable, and most of the time you're just doubting yourself. I'm a big believer in you can do anything you put your mind to. Like anything, like if there's a will, there's a way. Like 110%. And I think I like speak so seriously about that just because of the things that I've tried and I've been successful at, just by being like, no, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it. I'm going to learn how to do it. I'm going to do it. And knowing me, I have 7 bajillion side projects, so I've learned how to do a good amount of things. And I could sit here and tell you, like, oh, they're okay, but, like, where's that going to get me to admit that, like, the work that I've put in, like, doesn't count? Like, no, I'm doing well for what I've taught myself. So being insecure about where I am and how I've gotten here isn't going to get me anywhere further. So, I don't know. I don't know. That's my big... And I feel like, too, the pressures that I feel from, like, we all get pressures from our parents. Our parents want us to be successful, right? And to do, like, big things and do whatever. And part of me gets a little bit insecure about the path that I'm on, because I initially was like, okay, like, I'm not going to make any money doing what I want to do, which was, believe it or not, I actually wanted to be a teacher, which I don't think I've actually shared this with many people at all. So when I've wanted to be a teacher since I was probably like 7. Like, I started teaching, like, my sister how to do, like, math. Like, my sister got, like, this is not an exaggeration. Like, this is an actual fact. Casey was one of the only students to get, like, a perfect score on the CMTs, which, if you're not from Connecticut, it's like a Connecticut mastery test. I think in Massachusetts, like, an MCAS or something. But, like, it's that, like, standardized testing you take in school. She got a perfect score on the math CMT, and partially I have to think that it's because I spent so much time being like, this is how you do this, and this is how you do this, and, like, what I was learning, I was teaching Casey how to do. So, like, I'd be in, like, 6th grade, and I'm like, here, Casey, you want to learn how to do this, like, algebra? And she'd be like, yeah. Be like, cool, like, let's do it. So it's just one of those things that, like, it's just such, like, so anyway, so I wanted to be a teacher. Like, that's just where I was wanting to go with this. And I then was like, but teachers don't make a lot of money. And every time that I brought it up to, like, certain family members, they'd be like, oh, teachers don't make a lot of money. Like, you don't want to do that. You don't want to be stuck, like, not making a lot of money and, like, not, you know, doing something productive. I was like, yeah, and I got to a point in high school where they kept asking me, like, what do you want to do, like, when you grow up? I'm like, I don't know, like, 7,000 things. Like, I'll do 7,000 different things if you want me to. I have a bunch of different interests, but I never once said, like, no, I think I want to go to school for teaching. Because in my head, I was like, there was this judgment and this insecurity for me to, like, speak up and be like, no, this is what I want to do, because of all these pressures that were kind of put on me to make, like, money. And so... yeah. I ended up going the route where one day I was like, you know what? If I want to make money, which, take this with a grain of salt, because, like, I also am passionate about what I do now, because I also have a passion for what I do now, but, like, it's not what I initially wanted to do. Right. But I was like, oh, well, doctors make a lot of money. I mean, it's true. Yeah, and if I were to tell you what type of teacher I would have been, like, if I wanted to teach, like, high school kids and I wanted to do, like, science or math. So, like, I still followed, like, a path, like, that I was interested in and, like, passionate about, but it wasn't, like, my, like, oh, I really want to be a teacher. Like, I really want to, like, I have, like, all these ideas and, like, all these things that I'd like to try and, like, whatever. And, yeah, this is the first time I'm admitting any of this out loud. So I continued down my path of becoming a doctor, which I'm not. I haven't gotten there yet, which is also where I'm getting about an insecurity. But so I got my bachelor's in, like, pre-medical health sciences and was like, cool, this is the first step. Now I have to go to medical school. But I went through a lot in college and didn't do as well as most people would do if they wanted to be a doctor, and that's an insecurity right there. It's like, oh, I'm not good enough. Immediately, you think you're not good enough for something just because, something doesn't match up to somebody else who's doing better than you. And I ended up basically not even applying to medical school, because, like, I still do want to go to medical school. Like, I still do think that that's something that I want to do. But I ended up not applying to medical school right out of college because I was immediately like, I'm just not good enough. But I was telling everybody it was because I needed a break, which in turn I did need a break, but I would have applied if I kind of believed in myself a little bit more, type of a thing. So anyway, I was like, okay, well, how can I like improve my scores, and like, how can I get better so that I can do this, and blah, 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 blah. So I was like, cool, well, I applied to Harvard and I got in, and that should have been my first clue right there that like, maybe I'm actually not stupid.
Yeah, maybe you're not stupid because you got into Harvard.
So I went to Harvard for like a year and then was like, I hate it here.
Yeah.
Like, Harvard was rough. And not even like academically it was rough, but I meant like socially, like it's like everybody's just like pitted against each other because they want to be better than everybody, and it's just like super toxic. Like, would never. Yeah, that's negative 10 out of 10. Would not recommend Harvard. So anyway, and then I felt like, okay, so I got into Harvard. I went to Harvard for a year. Like, I literally went for an entire year, a little over a year. And then I started to feel this pressure. Was like, well, if I leave, people are going to look down on me because I'm going to leave Harvard. Like, I was insecure about the fact that I was like, I don't want to be here. I don't like it here. It's not the fit for me. And so I had to get over that insecurity and be like, this isn't the right place for me. Like, I need to go, like, somewhere that I can actually focus on something and not feel like I'm isolated by, like, my peers. Like, which everybody was. Like, everybody was all for them. It was so strange. Like, I met a few nice people that I became, like, friends with and stuff, but it was nothing, like... It was insane. But so anyway, so then I applied to a different program, and I changed my, like, because originally I was getting my master's in biochem, and then was like, that's like a lot of work, which I enjoyed biochem, but like, for what I was also doing on the side, I'm like, there's a lot of work. It's like way too much. So I ended up going for psychology, and I also struggled to be like, I'm going to switch over to psychology, because I was like, oh, it's not like an advanced science. It's not as like impressive like to medical schools, but I'm interested in psychology, hence this,
hence the whole reason anyone's listening to us right now.
And it's something that I'm passionate about and I'm good at, and I like understand it at a different level than like I understand organic chemistry and biochemistry. So like, I don't know, like, it's just something where I was like, again, had another insecurity, had another doubt about what I was doing. And then I suffered just some like mental health stuff, and I needed to like find something else that fulfilled me, like that was like work wise, you know? And so I was like, I'm going to start my own business. Now, being someone who's in this whole like science field, I'm like, I'm going to start a crystal business. Like, I want to sell crystals. And part of me loves crystals because there's just like a lot there, right? Like, there's something that there's just like, I've been doing this forever. Like, I've been collecting crystals since I've been like 5. And I love them, and I love like the mineralogy behind it, and I love the science behind them. I think they're the coolest things. Like, the earth literally makes them, and they're just so cool. But this is not a rock podcast.
This isn't, not yet.
Not yet. And I don't know, but I felt judgment going into that because it's so vastly different from like the path that I was like initially on. And I was like, when I tell people about this, I have to tell them it's because I'm interested in like the science behind it, and that's why I like them, and I like have collected it. But it's like, again, it brings me back to my favorite phrase that I've been using this whole episode: who cares? It made me happy. Shit. And it made me feel fulfilled, and I've been successful doing it, and I'm making money doing it, and why do I feel like what everybody else thinks matters? Like, and the reason I tell you that really long-winded story is because there's many points in that story where I paused my own life, my own happiness, because of my own insecurities about what other people were thinking about me when they probably didn't even give a shit. Like, especially my parents. They're just happy I'm happy and like breathing. They're like, cool, wonderful. Kid, like, just like.
And that, you know, that may not be the case forever. And that's the little caveat that comes with the, like, who cares, who gives a shit. You know, people important to you might. People in your life who, you know, like your parents might. But it's your life. your life is your life, and life in general. This is such a cliche thing to say, but I really genuinely believe in it. Life is just too short to live your life for other people. And that's what insecurities come down to. I think at the end of the day, insecurities are completely dependent on others, and it's all external. It's all like, how are other people going to perceive me? How am I going to be talked about or viewed or, you know, whatever, by other people? And it's tough. It's really hard, especially, not to sound like a 90-year-old, but in this day and age with the internet, it's really hard to say like, oh, just don't care. Just don't care what people think. I think that's the goal. Ideally, is don't care what people think.
Right.
And you and I can preach that all day, every day. And then we're going to go out tomorrow and we're going to care what people think about us. You know,
right.
This is it's not easy advice to follow.
I think with what I mean by like, who cares is more so like, do what makes you happy. Like, if within reason. 100%. You know what I mean? Like, just
1,000%.
do what you want to do, and listen to the opinions of what other people have to say, the people who love and care about you and want what's best for you, 110%. But at the end of the day, like, here's another cliche, the whole like, you only live once. Like, if you're not going to get a chance to do that again.
Anyone heard about this thing going around, #YOLO?
YOLO.
It's trending recently, I've been hearing.
Recently, like as in 2012.
Recently, as in 10 years ago. But yeah, really, it is your life. You only live once, hence the whole everything that we're saying. But we're sounding so lame, but I love it. I'm here for it. There's a great piece of advice that I can't remember the source, but that I heard that I just think is absolutely fantastic in regards to taking advice from other people. Because where I find a lot of my insecurities come in is feeling like, I often feel like others just know better than me. And so if I get advice from people, I'm like, oh, that's probably right. That's probably good advice. Especially as a writer, I show my pieces to different people, and I'll have different people be like, oh, this should be more like this. The story should be more, you know, etc. And then advice will conflict. And so I have to sit there and be like, what's the right advice? And I don't want to seem like I don't understand what works and what doesn't work in writing, and it's a whole spiral. And then I don't write and sleep for 3 days instead. And a piece of advice that I've gotten that I really love is, I'm trying to remember the exact wording, but it's something like, keep in mind that you should only take advice from people who you want to live similarly to, or like, you should only be like, when you take advice from someone, I don't remember the wording, I'm botching it, but when someone's giving you advice, you have to ask yourself, do you want to live the way they are living? So, you know, in a simple way, if someone's giving you writing advice, you have to think, do I want to write the way that they write? If someone's giving you fashion advice, whatever, etc.
It's like the whole, like, surround yourself with people, like, that you...
Exactly, that you respect, like, that you want to become more like. And that has really done a lot for me, where, you know, again, as not even just a writer or an artist, but anyone who puts out work that is going to be critiqued by others. I think these are all artists, but like a chef or someone who makes rock paintings, crystal paintings, for an example. I think you have to be able to listen to what other people are saying. I put quotation marks if you're not watching around the word listen. You have to listen to what other people are saying. You have to be able to hear the opinions and the criticisms of what people are saying, but that doesn't mean you have to absorb them and take them seriously.
Right.
because being able to hear criticism is a step toward being able to compartmentalize what is actual advice and what is not. You know, what is people trying to help you, or even if people are trying to help you, what is actual good advice that you want to follow versus not. And that kind of simple exercise of constantly questioning the advice that people give you is a really, I think, a good exercise in like self-assurance, a good exercise in, you know, strengthening your security in yourself and feeling like, well, this is advice that someone gave me. How do I feel about that advice? Ask yourself for advice, you know? I don't know. We're getting weird with it, but I like it.
You know, Russ says in one of his songs, which is like my favorite line ever. Yeah. He says, "I'm talking to myself to get expert advice."
Oh, yeah. That's what I'm saying.
Listen, I love, like, I'm just a Russ stan at this point, you know? Like, I read his book and I was like, this is my man. Sorry, Victor.
Yeah, no, I've sorry, Victor. And no, we're a week and a half to the wedding?
I think, calling it off. I think for me, the reason why I'm so heavy on kind of like what he talks about right now is because it's very relevant to me as I'm like kind of creating my own path and like starting businesses and like trying to be somebody who's successful on their own rather than like climbing the ladder, which I am also doing like at work, like, you know, like in my, you know, corporate type job.
Yeah.
I want to be successful for myself. And so a lot of the stuff that he talks about like resonates with the insecurities that I have now. Right. So for me, I'm sitting over here like, yeah, I'm going to live by that because I do want to live in a sense, like back to what you were saying, like him, because he is successful and he has done this for himself and by himself. And he started from like ground zero. So for me, another favorite quote that I'll end my little Russ rant on for the day is, what if it could turn out better than you imagined?
Ooh.
It's my favorite one.
I like it.
So that's why I literally do that, like, and then here's another one, but it's not by Russ. It's a different quote that I don't even know who said it, but it's,
then I don't even want to hear it.
It's practice. Everybody thinks practice makes perfect, but practice makes improvement. And right. And like, but like, cause we never like, I don't know. I just resonate with that as well, where it's like, I'll do something and I'm insecure. I'm like, oh, it's not good enough. Like, it's not like these other ones that I want mine to be like, but it's like, okay, but that's improvement, right? Like, let's flip that. Let's look at the positive in this situation. And I did something better than I did yesterday, and I tried something and I learned something. And like, there's so much to take away from just this, like, this moment in time from what I've just screwed up in a sense in my mind, you know?
Yeah.
So there's like insecurities around that for me as well. And I don't know. I just think like, even just being in any sort of, I feel like art teaches you like a lot about yourself because there's so much trial and error, and the way that we like pick ourselves up and move on from like things that we might think aren't perfect or a success shows a lot about your character. And I think there's a good and a bad way to deal with like those reactions. So if we can take these insecurities and we can learn from them, we can recognize when they're happening. We can just learn how to help ourselves better, no matter what the insecurity is, whether or not it's in your career, whether or not it's what you're wearing, whether or not it's how your body looks, whether or not it's like, is everybody staring at me today? Like, no matter what your insecurity is, like, if we can recognize in those moments, hey, this is something I'm insecure about, but why? Like, why am I insecure about this, and what do I really want? What is making me so insecure? Like, what do I want that is making me insecure about this, right? Like, why am I so insecure? Like, let's learn from the reasons we have these feelings, and let's try to grow from them, rather than just be like, oh, it's just an insecurity, like, let's move on. Like, no, like, let's address it. Let's work on it. So, I don't know. That's just my take on all of it at the moment.
No, definitely. I think it's I'm trying so hard to get better at this, is recognizing the difference between a logical fear or anxiety or insecurity. Wait, I don't know if insecurities are super logical. I don't know. That's a whole nother thing to get into maybe. But versus realizing like, oh, my brain is just feeling a little icky today and feeling a little anxious. And these insecurities are just things that I'm making up that like no one else is thinking about. No one else is really thinking about these things. And I don't know. We all just got to be a little kinder, a little nicer to ourselves.
Yeah.
Be your own ally.
I also think too, like, just to relate it to something else, maybe for more perspective, is like procrastination. So there's a couple reasons people procrastinate, but we're going to look at this in a very like basic way at the moment. And procrastination usually happens because whatever task we're procrastinating on, we're uncomfortable with in some form or another, right? Like, I procrastinate on doing work because I'm like, this sucks. Like, I don't want to sit here and do X, Y, and Z. It's tedious, and it's just going to take away from the time that I want to do this, and it makes me uncomfortable. So I'm procrastinating because I'm like, I don't want to sit in that discomfort. So one of the ways that I've read, learning about my ADHD, to like kind of combat that procrastination has been, okay, but what about this is uncomfortable, and why is it uncomfortable? Part of the reason I procrastinate with homework is because sometimes I don't feel adequate enough while I'm doing it, and that makes me panic and feel uncomfortable and not want to do it. And it took me a long time to realize that that's why I was procrastinating. And I feel like that can apply with insecurities.
Yeah,
right?
And I was even just going to say, like, not only does that, what that also applies to is work that you maybe even enjoy doing. And not to constantly bring it back to my career, but like with writing, I very much feel that, where I procrastinate writing all the time. And it definitely, a lot of it comes from that feeling of like inadequacy, you know, like just feeling like, oh, this isn't good enough. And it's that extra little tinge of pain from it, knowing it's something that I love. It's something that I love doing, that if I could not be a writer, I've thought about this a lot. I would love to not be a writer. It's so time consuming. It's so like my discipline does not really align with what is required of it, but I just love it so much. I love it too much to stop doing it.
And I think that even relates, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I think that brings it back to, like, procrastination can even relate to these insecurities that we have, right? Like, when I'm reading some article and then being asked questions about it for my homework, which is something I all the time procrastinate on, I'm sitting there thinking, can I do this? Am I good enough? Do I understand what's being asked? Like, I'm having these insecurities about my own abilities, and that makes me uncomfortable, and I don't want to sit in that feeling. I don't want to be frustrated, and I've then turned that into something else negative. It kind of snowballs from there, where I've been like, oh, I'm just lazy. I don't want to do it. Like, you just start to believe you're lazy because you haven't, like, addressed that root cause. And there was one time where I said something, I don't even remember who was there, but I said something about being lazy, like, aloud in a group of people. And someone looked over at me and they were like, I would not call you lazy. I would say that you're just burnt out and you don't want to deal with it.
The idea that lazy would be in any description that someone would have of you. Like, oh my God, you run roughly, if I had to estimate, roughly 116 small businesses of your own. You are constantly, it is literally, it is, your wedding is coming up. And
it is?
I don't know if you're aware, but you're getting
Thursday?
married.
Next Thursday.
You know what, though?
What?
It's not next Thursday. I mean, it is for us right now as we're recording, but when this airs, it's going to be today. You're getting married today. Everyone
next
wish Emily
Thursday.
Congratulations.
Thanks. I am now married.
You're now married.
Or when this airs at midnight, technically, that night.
It will be. It will be. Your
I will be
wedding.
married later that day.
You will. It will be. It will be wedding time. At this time now, when people are listening to this, it is wedding time. Unless you listened.
Yes.
Late. Anyways,
And I'll get to see John in person.
We're going to be together in person, and I'm going to bring my podcast here, and we're going to do a podcast episode on the altar.
Oh my God,
I'm going to interrupt the entire ceremony. They're going to say, does anyone object to this wedding? And I'm going to say, I don't exactly object, but I'd like to take a few minutes to set something up.
Okay, make sure you stop by my apartment and grab my yellow headphones and my microphone too.
No, I'm going to have it all. Don't you worry.
Cool.
And I'm going to be like, Victor, thank you. You're going to be our second guest on the podcast.
So how are you guys feeling today?
How are you guys feeling? Let's talk about regrets. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry. Real quick, though. What I wanted to say is that you are getting married, and as I was talking to you this weekend, I was like, listen, like, I know you're really, like, the wedding's coming up, and I don't want you to feel like, you know, if you can't make time for the podcast, like, that's okay. Let's talk about it. And you're like, actually, I was working on, like, and you just named, like, your other businesses that you're working on. You're like, oh, yeah, well, you've actually started a new business. Like, the month before your wedding, you're just like, what if I sell? Actually, no, you've started 2 new businesses this summer, I believe.
It's a secret.
It's not a secret. It's on the air. It's literally, it's a business.
Listen, when I'm making hella money and me and Russ are hanging out at his pool, we're going to re-listen to this episode.
And you're going to be like, I can't believe John said those things about me. Emily, what did we learn today?
We learned that we need to pet some dogs.
You gotta pet some dogs. Don't be insecure about petting dogs. No. Yeah, you're gonna get looks. You're gonna get looks from the owners, but who cares what they think? You should ask them.
You should, but it's like one of those situations where, like,
get permission.
Exactly.
Who cares if they think you're weird? Just pet that dog.
I don't even know the owners' names to the dogs in my neighborhood. No. I only know the dogs' names.
No.
Yep.
What else did we learn today?
We also learned that who cares?
Who gives a shit?
But what we really mean by that is, if it makes you happy, just fucking do it.
Yeah, just make sure you care.
Exactly. And we love you, and you're beautiful, and don't be insecure.
Wow.
We're all here.
Every one of you is a Libra, as far as I'm concerned.
Exactly.
Anyways.
Yep. Anyway, so thank you for listening. Don't be insecure. We love you. You're gorgeous.
Gorgeous.
Gorgeous. And we will see you next time.
On Mental Sync.
Bye, guys. Cool. Okay, are we happy?